bill that they called like putting your patch in a box. It was the most stupid, idiotic thing I've ever heard of. I didn't do it in my charter.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin With Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got PeeWee.
Oh yeah, I've seen patches taken. It's really a messed up thing, because if we were both in two different clubs, you and me, Bill, and we were fighting, and I took your patch, technically, if the cops get involved, I could be charged with strong arm robbery, because just like taking a suit off of you or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That patch is a piece of your clothing, your property, you own it. If they take that patch, you could be charged with strong arm robbery. And I think that was frowned on a lot by the club. It really was. They really didn't like you doing that. And it was like they had this shit bill that they called like putting your patch in a box. It was the most stupid, idiotic thing I've ever heard of. I didn't do it in my charter. So if you messed up as a Hell's Angel, instead of just reprimanding, you're taking you outside and whipping your ass in the backyard, they would take your patch and put it in a box. And then you're basically like busted down the prospect, even though you may have a shitload of Hell's Angel tattoos on you. You can't ride your bike with a death head on it. Why you got your patch in a box? Stupid. You know what I mean? And what lesson is that really teaching you?
Yeah,
it's not really teaching you a lesson, bro.
No.
But those other clubs, they it's an honor to these other clubs for stealing a Hell's Angel patch,
So what happens if someone steals a Hell's Angel patch? And can you walk me through when someone got their patch taken? Because don't they hang them on the wall for like a trophy and things upside down?
Upside down. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I went to a party in Massachusetts where some shit just went down, and we were having an anniversary party at this one charter. And one of the guys walked in and said, "Hey, we just got this." And it was an outlaw patch, and they hung it upside down in there. And I didn't give a shit either way, you know what I mean? I was thinking in my head, I thought we didn't do that kind of shit, but I didn't care one way or the other, to be honest with you. It's funny. I see in the background your pictures flashing. And I see that big the picture coming up right now. Wait a minute. It'll be a picture of the big group.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. That group. That was 94. That was a USA run at San Francisco. And I was a prospect for Minnesota. And I was standing right behind helping take those photos on that picture right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have a long history in this club. Like, you made your mark in the club.
I felt that I did, you know what I mean? They can be haters all they want, but I did make my mark in there. For them, the way they did me dirty, it wasn't cool, It's like knocking a chip off my shoulder. I don't give a shit either way. But
so how do you feel? What's your relief level from when you were in it to where you are now? Like, would you do it all again?
I enjoyed being a Hell's Angel. I would say, yeah. I would have done that all over again. I wish I would have done it when I was younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did put in my time, and I was glad I was one. I traveled the world, got a lot of doors open for me that probably wouldn't have been, as a Hell's Angel. Bodyguard, even though I'm a big man, people ask me anyway. I got most of my bodyguard jobs after I was out of the club. But I think it was the point that the people who asked me to be their bodyguards knew I was one at one time,
Yeah.
But basically, it just boiled down to the way I handled myself and the way I could bodyguard somebody,
What are some of the people you bodyguarded for?
Ron White, John DeJorian, that owns John Paul Mitchell Hair Products.
Yeah.
He owns Patron too. He just sold that. John is a great guy, bro. You couldn't ask for a better friend. And he was sitting in a restaurant in Sturgis, or actually in Spearfish, South Dakota, which is like, I don't know, 20 miles from Sturgis. And I walked into a really nice, fancy restaurant that they had there by myself. Sometimes I had to just get away from the shop, my shop I was running.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in there to eat, and I sat down there, and I think I had my patch on, and I sat there to eat. He was downstairs, and I went up to a balcony seat. That's where he sat me. And he was with, oh man, I'm trying to think his name. I'm going a little brain dead right now. Lamas. Remember the guy who played on the TV show Renegade?
Yeah.
What was his name? Something started with an R. Something. Lamas. That's who John Paul was sitting with. John DeJorian. They call him JP. I call him. And he walked up to me and introduced himself, shook my hand, told me that the Hells Angels helped him out way back, like in the 60s. Lorenzo
Lamas. Yeah.
Lorenzo Lamas, that's it. And that's it. He introduced me to that guy, and I shook his hand. I remember him from the TV series. And he said that the Hells Angels helped him when he was sleeping out of his car, and he said he was eating out of dumpsters. He had no money. His wife took off. He had one child, and he was living out of a car. And what a rags the riches story, you know what I mean? Here he meets this other guy, Mitchell, the guy see, his name is John DeJorian, right? But his name is John Paul DeJorian. So the Mitchell guy came in and they started doing the hair thing together. And then Mitchell got cancer and he died. So it ended up being John Paul Mitchell's, and he always kept Mitchell's name in there,
Yeah.
And he has the schools and stuff like that. Then he started Patron. I think he sold that for I think it was like $2.1 billion. He sold that.
Wow.
Yeah, Patron tequila for. John's just a great guy. Like I told you, he's helped me out so much. I can't thank the guy enough, bro. When I went to prison, he went over and gave my wife at that time, Dale, he gave her a check for $10,000. I mean, who does that?
No.
If he called me up right now and said, PeeWee, how much you charge me to do a bodyguard? I would never charge that guy the rest of my life. I would just go do the bodyguarding for him, because in my heart, I feel I owe him that.
So when you were doing these bodyguard situations, did you ever have a situation where things got out of control?
No, not really.
Or had to crack some heads?
No, with John, it was pretty cool. He told me, he said, hey, when it gets real hairy and people start congregating around them, he said, when I go like this, I take my hand and I go like that with my ponytail. He said, that's the cue for you to get me out of there. So when he'd go like this with his ponytail and pull his ponytail, I'd step in and say, come on, John, we got to go. You got another appointment. And he's like, sorry, folks, sorry, and they're like, everybody wants a picture with him. And I pull him away like the heathen, and come on, you're going. And then as we walk away, he pats me on the back, says, thanks,
But you're big enough to keep the people back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it came down to it, like I said, when I'm bodyguarding somebody, I can't carry a weapon because I'm a felon, but I got a couple of weapons right here. They've been working for me all my life. So,
was there any situations when you were bodyguarding for anybody that happened?
Oh, I'm trying to think. The first guy I ever bodyguarded was Matt Dillon. You remember him?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't see him anymore, but he was just a great guy. And he was in Minnesota doing a movie called Beautiful Girls. And this was 1994. Chuck Zito actually was bodyguarding him because he was doing a lot of bodyguarding, Chuck was.
Yeah.
And Chuck was bodyguarding, but Chuck had to leave and go somewhere. And I was prospecting, and he said, hey, Pee-wee, keep an eye on this guy. Watch out for him. And I said, all right. So it was about no money. I just, I was a prospect at the time, and I just went over and bodyguarded him.
Did you wear your pats when that happened? When you were bodyguarded? Did you wear your pats when you were bodyguarded? Your prospect patch?
I'm trying to think, I can't remember if I did or not. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't think I did. Because they frowned on that a little bit. I think I was just wearing a regular hoodie or something like that because it was winter time. He had a long cashmere black jacket on with a nice dress shirt with a collar like this, and he's a good looking dude, man, and the chicks were going wild over him, not only because he was an actor, he's a good looking dude, and he was very outspoken, I mean, he wasn't real shy or anything, but he was just a cool dude, man. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. We walked in this place on a corner of Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis. I think it's called, I think it's called, believe it or not, I know the name keeps popping in my head because of the movie, but I thought the place was called Schindler's, or it was called something close to that, what it was, but it was a bookstore, and it carried newspapers from all around the world and everything. It was a famous bookstore. I mean, if they didn't have it, you were never going to find it. So we walk by there, and Matt says, hey, I'm going to go in there and get a Wall Street Journal. And I said, all right. So we walk in there, and we get it. And, bro, I mean, this was so, nonchalant. He gets the paper. We turn around as we're walking out the door, coming across the street, just crossing traffic. And he just walks right by us. And, I mean, it was just so nonchalant. It was, what's his name, Keanu Reeves?
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Keanu Reeves. And he walks right by and he goes, hey, Matt. Matt goes, hey, Keanu, what's up?